The disappearing recognition, Taiwan's diplomatic crisis. In 2023, Taiwan's diplomatic standing suffered yet another blow when Honduras severed official ties after more than 8 decades of recognition. The Central American nation pivoted to recognize the People's Republic of China instead, marking the 9th country to abandon Taiwan since 2016. Just months into 2024, Nauru, a tiny Pacific island nation, followed suit, leaving Taiwan with a mere 12 diplomatic allies worldwide. This wasn't always the case. As recently as the 1990s, Taiwan maintained formal diplomatic relations with nearly 30 countries. But the decline has accelerated dramatically over the past decade as Beijing has intensified its campaign to diplomatically isolate the island democracy. The story of Taiwan's shrinking international presence reflects a carefully orchestrated strategy by mainland China. At the heart of this diplomatic erosion lies Beijing's insistence on its one China policy, a non-negotiable stance that there is only one China, and Taiwan is an inseparable part of it. This principle forms the foundation of China's approach to international relations, requiring countries to choose between recognizing Beijing or Taipei. Maintaining official ties with both simultaneously is not an option. Like a chess master systematically removing pieces from the board, China's diplomatic offensive follows a recognizable pattern. Countries with long-standing ties to Taiwan suddenly announce recognition switches to Beijing after months of quiet negotiations involving promises of substantial Chinese investment, loans, or infrastructure projects. The cases of Honduras and Nauru illustrate this tactical playbook. Honduras secured promises of a hydroelectric dam worth hundreds of millions of dollars before switching allegiance, while Nauru's January 2024 diplomatic switch came just days after Taiwan's presidential election, a deliberately timed move demonstrating China's ability to erode Taiwan's international standing regardless of election outcomes. Similarly, when the Solomon Islands cut ties with Taiwan in 2019, it received pledges of approximately $500 million in Chinese development aid, about 8 times Taiwan's annual contribution. The statistics tell a compelling story of accelerating isolation, from 22 official diplomatic partners in 2016 to just 12 by early 2024, a 45% reduction in less than 8 years. What remains of Taiwan's diplomatic network consists primarily of small nations in the Pacific, Caribbean, and Latin America, plus the Holy See, Vatican City, Taiwan's only remaining European ally. This diplomatic contraction creates cascading effects beyond mere symbolic recognition. Each loss restricts Taiwan's already limited space for international participation. Without official diplomatic ties, Taiwan's access to international organizations becomes increasingly tenuous. The island is already excluded from the United Nations and its affiliated agencies like the World Health Organization, even as observer status remains out of reach. For Taiwanese citizens, each diplomatic defection extracts a psychological toll. These losses reinforce a sense of growing isolation and vulnerability. Each announcement of a former ally switching to Beijing generates headlines that chip away at Taiwan's confidence in its international standing. The cumulative effect damages Taiwan's global position despite its economic success and democratic governance. This psychological dimension extends to Taiwan's security calculations. As formal diplomatic recognition shrinks, questions naturally arise about whether informal security guarantees, particularly from the United States, will remain reliable. This uncertainty creates a persistent background anxiety in Taiwanese society. China's strategy involves both carrots and sticks. Countries maintaining relations with Taiwan often find themselves excluded from Chinese investment opportunities or face trade restrictions. Conversely, those switching to Beijing typically receive immediate economic benefits. The Dominican Republic secured $3 billion in investments and loans after cutting ties with Taiwan in 2018. Taiwan's current diplomatic allies form an eclectic group: Belize, Guatemala, Haiti, the Holy See, Marshall Islands, Palau, Paraguay, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Tuvalu, and Eswatini. The geographic dispersion reveals an important pattern. None are major powers, and most are economically vulnerable nations susceptible to China's financial diplomacy. The acceleration of diplomatic losses makes Taiwan's situation particularly precarious. While Taiwan might have weathered one defection every few years previously, the pace has quickened to multiple losses annually. This suggests Beijing is intensifying pressure as part of a broader strategy to resolve what it considers the Taiwan question within a specific time frame. The economic mismatch between China and Taiwan creates a fundamentally uneven contest. With an economy approximately 22 times larger than Taiwan's, China possesses financial resources that Taiwan simply cannot match in bidding wars for diplomatic recognition. Taiwan's foreign ministry has explicitly acknowledged it cannot compete dollar for dollar with Beijing's checkbook diplomacy. Taiwan has implemented various countermeasures with limited success. Its steadfast diplomacy approach focuses on deepening substantive partnerships rather than purely transactional relationships. Taiwan emphasizes its democratic values and humanitarian assistance. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Taiwan leveraged its effective response and medical supply donations as diplomatic tools under the banner Taiwan Can Help. The trajectory remains difficult to reverse. Each diplomatic loss creates a domino effect as remaining allies reassess their positions. When multiple countries in a region switch recognition, others can follow without facing regional isolation, evident when several Pacific Island nations switched recognition in quick succession. A stark question emerges. What happens if Taiwan eventually loses all formal diplomatic recognition? This would represent uncharted territory in modern international relations. A de facto independent, democratically governed entity with 23 million people, a high-tech economy, and its own military, yet completely lacking formal diplomatic recognition. Such a scenario would force Taiwan to rely entirely on unofficial relationships.